What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back from Germany, back in the studio to give you some player ratings for the 0-0 draw against Frankfurt. And you know what? You know, a lot of people have been saying a lot about this game, about this result, but I think it's been a good result. Going out to Germany against a Frankfurt side that have got their tails up, really good form. I'm taking a point there, especially with 2 home games out of 3 games left to go. I'm quite happy with the draw there. So, you know, even people talking about the performance and stuff like that. But I saw positives yesterday. Don't know about you.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that, and I think it still leaves us in a good position in the group as well. I think we were more on the front foot than we have been in other games, but when you're not scoring to the level that we're not at the moment, and we're not winning at the level away from home, I think questions are always going to be asked when we go into another game and we still haven't scored or got a win. So I think that's definitely things to address, but I think it was probably a step in the right direction performance-wise, but obviously we want more than that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a case of a bit similar to maybe the last 20 minutes against Arsenal, where we were actually playing well, but it fell at the last hurdle again, and we'll get into why it fell down. But I think the front three didn't cover themselves in too much glory yesterday. But anyway, let's start off, and let's start with Hugo Lloris. 6s all round from us. I mean, in terms of actual goalkeeper, didn't really have to make too many saves throughout the game. I think they had 1 shot on target, pretty much a routine save, I believe. Where he let himself down was his distribution yesterday. Kept playing us into trouble. There was one pass where he really played Romero into a lot of trouble, but it's something that I know we've all highlighted Hugo's distribution in the past, but it seems like the past few games it's been even worse than usual.
I think it's business as usual from Hugo. I think it's always been an issue. I don't think it's ever going to be one of his strengths. So that's just something you've got to take when it comes to Hugo Lloris. His distribution, especially when he's under pressure, just isn't fantastic. And I think we've had to live with that for ever since he's come here. And I think what you gain with Hugo as a keeper is just outweighs that negative. That his distribution is weak. So. Yeah, it wasn't particularly great. I think it's when he's putting other players into trouble, that's when you've got to be more critical, because that's in positions where he's not under much pressure. In terms of other distribution, like clipping into the wing back and stuff, wherever, he's never going to be amazing at that, I think. But in general, decent performance, made some good saves, and I think he marshalled the defence pretty well.
All right, let's move on to Cristian Romero. 7s all round from us, and I think this was more like the Romero that we'd love to see, the Romero before his injury, where he was stepping out of defence, he was making really good interceptions and tackles, he was driving the team forward as well, always getting forward as often as he possibly could, and you know, on the back of the couple of performances that we've seen from Romero since his injury, where we keep saying this isn't the Romero which we know and love, I think this was a massive step in the right direction. Yeah,
he seems a lot more aggressive in this game, a lot sharper. I think ever since he's come back from injury, he's just looked a bit off the pace, but I think we're starting to see signs of him now, hopefully after yesterday's performance, of him getting back to his best, and that's very, very positive. And I just love the way how he gets forward and tries to support the attack, because when he does do that, it really helps open up space, and it really helps give the opposition defences something else to think about, and that obviously creates openings. So it causes a bit of chaos. So that's good. But is still not quite at his very best, but definitely in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to one of his partners in Eric Dier, ever present so far this season. 7s all round from us, and I thought it was a really good display from Dier. Nothing really getting past him for pretty much the whole game. He was very dominant in terms of his aerial ability and winning challenges in the back. And he played a really lovely ball over the top to Emerson, where he blazed it over the bar, which could have easily been an assist for Eric Dier there. But I mean, Frankfurt hardly troubled us throughout the whole game, and I thought the back three were a massive part of that.
Yeah, I believe there was one moment where I think it was a misplaced pass, and it led to a Frankfurt chance which they blazed over the bar. But other than that, he was pretty much faultless. He didn't really put foot wrong. Obviously, with Spurs are the ones, I think, with more of the ball in this game than maybe in other games, so didn't have as much defending to do, but what he did have to do, I think he did pretty well. So solid performance from Dier.
Let's move on to Clement Lenglet. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Some are suggesting maybe his best performance in a Spurs shirt last night. I thought he was so cool, calm, composed, looked so comfortable on the ball, hit passing, distribution on show for everyone to see, and part of that back three that were really mean last night and limited Frankfurt to very few chances.
Yeah, for me, it was more defensively than on the ball where he really impressed me yesterday, and that's always been my biggest question mark with him. Is I always think he's a bit better on the ball than Davis, but are we going to lose anything defensively? On yesterday's evidence, it was a very strong showing, and I think off the back of a poor showing for me against Arsenal, where I thought he was out-muscled too much and aerially he was getting beaten too many times. And this one, he won 4 of his 4 aerial duels. He was a lot more combative on the ground as well, and I think a few times from Frankfurt threatening, he was the one blocking, getting his body on the line, blocking the shots, and coming with the cross, and a couple of times supporting Perisic as well. So I was very happy with him, and I think defensively he did a really good job.
Yeah. Let's move on to Emerson Royal, right wing back, 6s all round from us. And after what happened at Arsenal last week, he needed to respond with a good performance. And I wouldn't say he was brilliant last night, but I think he was competent, and I think defensively he was really good. Literally nothing, I don't think anything got past him literally the whole day, and he was getting forward a lot. I mean, he was kept bombing it on the whole game. Could have had a goal with that ball over the top from Eric Dier with the volley blazed over the bar, and I thought he looked good yesterday.
Yeah, I think as it is with Emerson, even on a good day, he's never going to be like amazing. And this was Emerson on a good day, and we're giving him a 6. So that just goes to show that I thought on the ball he was decent. There was some really good dribbles, like really good touches on the right-hand side, where all of a sudden you realise this guy is Brazilian. Like, so it comes out sometimes. He gives inklings that he is Brazilian, but
sometimes I'm questioning what passport he has. To be honest,
absolutely. But I thought he got forward fairly well in terms of positioning wise, but that final ball just, it again wasn't there, and it very rarely is, and that's just something that we've come accustomed to now with Emerson. He apparently gets dossiers on Hakimi, but he has to take a closer look at them, I think, if he's going to replicate what his kind of output is.
Look, I get dossiers on Lionel Messi as well, you know what I mean? Doesn't make me, I'm not going to be as good as Lionel Messi.
So look, I think it was okay. Nothing to shout about, but definitely wasn't disaster. He definitely wasn't like the problem or anything like that, like maybe he is in some games. So I think it was okay.
Moving on the other side to Ivan Perisic, 6s all round. And when you compare the contrasting Emerson and Perisic, we're giving both of them the same rating. But for Emerson, it was a good game, and for Perisic, it was a fairly quiet and a poor game where I felt like nothing. Look, he was getting up the pitch with a few nice runs and dragged one shot wide, but apart from that, I didn't really remember too much what happened with Perisic yesterday.
I think with Perisic, for me, they're similar ratings with Emerson, only because you expect a lot more from Perisic when he gets in those positions, and I think he was getting a lot more threatening positions. There was one in the first half which the ball came to him, I think actually from an Emerson pass, and he took the shot first time, took a deflection and went just wide, and then the second half I'm pretty sure he was played in by Heung-min Son in behind, and I think he tried to square it to Kane. He probably should have taken the shot on, and he probably might be looking at his first goal because he's a very good finisher, but he didn't. Probably took the wrong decision, had a bit more time and space than he realised, and ended up not scoring. So I think he was a threat. I think again, I think we look so much better when he's on that left-hand side for me, Perisic. I think he's really strong offensively, and even in the games where, like Frankfurt, where he's not having his best day, he's still a big threat, and he still nearly scored a couple of goals and created chances. So the only thing is he didn't maybe have the quality that we expect of him, and that's why we marked him down, but he was still a lot more of a threat than Emerson.
Let's move on to the midfield now. Let's start off with Rodrigo Bentancur, 7s all round from us, and I thought he started the game really well. I thought first half he was pretty strong, really keeping possession really well, spraying it to the attack, keeping the ball moving, combative in the middle of the park as well, driving us forward. But I think he kind of weaned out of the game, Bentancur, but I still think it was a good display, but not as good maybe as the previous couple of games.
I thought he was, I thought he was pretty good. I think he helped control the midfield, and I think a big reason why we were keeping up possession was because he was just making things stay very nicely. Obviously, defensively, as per usual, he was very, very strong. And I think, I think it was a fairly consistent Bentancur performance, and I was fairly happy with him.
Yeah, me as well. I just think that maybe the other couple of games maybe a bit stronger. But let's move on to Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, his partner. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. I actually think he was slightly better than Bentancur in this game. He was doing his box-to-box role, doing really good work defensively, really good work going forward as well. He was a proper driving force in the game yesterday, getting up and down, non-stop running all day, high energy, and he was doing well to get it to the front line, but the front line couldn't really do much with it.
Yeah, I just didn't see as much of him as I did Bentancur, so I only gave him 1 mark down, but I thought he still played fairly well, and I think obviously he's been so consistent this season. I've been very happy with Pierre in this specific game. I didn't think he was amazing, but I thought he was pretty good still. So not too much to say.
Let's move on to Richarlison. 5s all round from us. Another frustrating display from Richarlison, actually. And like I was saying before, it kind of followed on the theme from that end of that first half against Arsenal, where Sonny and Richarlison just overhitting passes, not getting it in the right positions. You know, they pick up the ball in really good positions where we can really hurt the opposition, but we're not taking the most out of our chances, and we had those chances yesterday, and we really could have, if we would have won 2 or 3-0 yesterday, no one would have batted an eyelid, because that's how dominant Spurs were yesterday, I believe. And I think that we need to start putting away our chances and start creating more chances when we get into the final third, instead of overhitting our chances and letting the ball bounce off players and stuff like that. So I think Richarlison was a big culprit of why a lot of the moves broke down yesterday.
Yeah, we're starting to see that he can, when he's not having a great game, he can be quite a frustrating player, because when you want him to even just do simple things like hold the ball up and make simple passes, those things that when they look easy, but when you're not doing them, it can be all of a sudden get very, very frustrating. And we're starting to see that a bit of Rishi. Part of me feels sorry for him, because he has spent most of his time at Spurs playing in the position in the front three, which is probably his weakest, and that's on the right. We know that he's off the left and up front. That's where he's at his best. Obviously, he can do a job on the right, but that's not what you'd say is the strongest position. And that's where That's where he's been playing a lot for Tottenham. So we're not obviously giving him the platform maybe to be at his very best, but still, it's when it comes to the simple things, when he's not doing those right, that's when the real frustration comes. So that's something he definitely has to improve on if he's going to really break into the team once Kulusevski's fit again.
Let's move on to Sonny. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. Probably our best player in the forward line yesterday out of Kane, Richarlison and Son. I think he put in a couple of nice balls where Kane didn't get on the end of one. I think maybe it was Richarlison or Romero that didn't get on the end of another one. But he was the one really trying to take the game to Frankfurt, but there were other moments as well where, like I was saying before, where the pass just goes too long, or the ball bounces off Sonny, and it was really frustrating to watch. But probably he was the one that had the most action going forward.
Yeah, he looked the most likely to either set up a goal or score a goal for me. So I think he was looking sharp, looking dangerous. I don't follow the narrative that this was more poor form from Son. I think he was okay. I don't think he was amazing, but I think he was probably the sharpest of the front three. And
there was good and bad in there from him, wasn't there?
Yeah. It's true. So I think he'll obviously want more from himself, considering how good of a player he is. But I still think he was probably the best of our front three in terms of looking likely to do something. So that's why I gave him a 6.
All right, let's move on to the last of the starting 11 in Harry Kane. 5s all round from us. Again, like with Sonny, I think there was good and bad in there from Harry Kane. The good was more when he was dropping deep and really trying to affect the game and bring the ball forward to Sonny, to Richarlison, to the wing-backs as well. He was in the box when Sonny put in that really good cross, and he should have probably got on the end of it. But apart from that, I mean, you expect more from Harry Kane, really. And in a game like this, where we were so dominant, you expect him to get on the score sheet or to provide an assist or something like that. And the opportunities were there for him to to do that, but he just didn't. And I think it was a poor display, to be honest.
Yeah, he wasn't able to, especially when it got to near the penalty area, he wasn't really able to get away from the Frankfurt defenders. And whenever he had an opportunity to try and get on the end of something, he was coming off second best. That was disappointing. I did think his link-up play was pretty decent at times. I don't think it was as good as what we've seen previously. I don't remember too many through balls to Son and Kane, but when he's spreading it out wide to the wing-backs and stuff, obviously he can do that in his sleep, and he was quite good at doing that yesterday. So he'll have better games, but I don't think he was terrible, but definitely wasn't one of his better games.
And last but not least, Antonio Conte, 6s all round from us. And you got to give credit to Conte because it was a dominant performance away in Europe, which we haven't seen many of in the recent years, that's for sure. But away at Frankfurt, in that intense atmosphere, he got the team and the structure right, I believe. And we were let down by individual errors going forward from the likes of Son, Kane, Richarlison. So I think that Conte can't really account for that. And I think we played the game well, and we just needed to get that goal, and one goal would have won the game, obviously, because it was 0-0. But I think on the balance of play, we probably should have won 2 or 3-0.
Yeah, we were the better team, I believe. Obviously, I think Frankfurt did end up having 12 shots, and we had 11, but very similar on target. I think our ones were in the better positions, and we were the ones creating the better chances. So a lot of people are clamouring for 3-5-2. A lot of people saying we have to change formation. Conte's been very, whether you call it stubborn or he's stuck to his guns when it comes to how we're playing the formation. I think there's reasons to it, and I think he always does what he thinks is best for the team. And I think we, as a team, played okay. It's never easy going away in the Champions League, but still, it's now 1 win in 7 away from home. Again, we didn't score, and in terms of real clear-cut openings, we had chances, but we never had like proper clear-cut chances. We had just like good chances, I would say.
But we had like the opportunities to make those clear-cut chances, but for some reason, our passing was just so off in the final third, like it was in the back end of the Arsenal first half as well. Yeah,
but if that's going to be a recurring theme, he's got to sort that out, and it's now happened in the last 2 games. So that's something he has to definitely address, and and our away form has to be addressed, because we can't seem to. Although it was a better performance, we still didn't get the win, and we still, in terms of goals, we drew 0-0. We didn't score. So those are things that are problems. But I think performance-wise, step in the right direction. Result-wise, solid result, not bad. Keeps us second in the group. So no need to panic in that. We just need to make sure we get the job done at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the away, we go away this weekend to Brighton, and it's important. We need to get that monkey off our back and get a win this weekend against Brighton, and put a good performance in as well, because we haven't been playing that well of late. But I think yesterday was a bit of a step in the right direction. So hopefully we take a bit of confidence now into the Brighton game and see and beat them, because they're going to be a really tough nut to crack.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to how the perceptions and everything, everyone says we're not playing well in the moment. And look, there is some validity, but the fact of the matter is, I think after Brighton, it'll be 5 of our last 6 games will be in away. So we haven't played too much at home. So once we get those home games in, I think maybe things will look a bit different.
Yeah, and I think it's not better for us to get these away games maybe out of our system early, because when you're looking at it, like the away games we've had, I mean, we've touched on this already. The away games that we've had are all games that historically that we don't win, and they're all very hard games. So it's good to get all these games out early on. So that is our player ratings. 5 takeaways will be coming your way very, very soon. Thank you very much for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.